Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the Sunday chat about all sorts of stuff and nonsense. Random, as I think of it. First thing, yesterday's Orchid Society meeting and the dreaded Zoom talk. I must admit, from my point of view, that was probably the most stressful Orchid Society meeting I've ever had. And that includes doing talks, including doing my first ever talk at an Orchid Society. It was basically because there were elements of it that I had no control over. So you're reliant on other people and other pieces of kit, technology, all sorts of things kicked in on that thing. But it sort of went okay. We had a few hiccups at the beginning, not my end. My end fired up okay. It's just amazing when I'd got all the stuff out on the table just how much there actually is. I had to go and get the projector stand. There's that stays in the building basically. It's owned by the building, not by us, but anyone can use it. So I would go and get that out the back and wheel that in and get that in the right place, roughly. You never tell whether it's in the right place till you actually turn the projector on and see how big the picture is. But anyway, I get that. So you then start getting the wires out, and you've got like the projector. That needs a mains cable, so I had to have an extension lead. That has to be placed in such a way that nobody can trip over it. Health and safety and all that cobblers. It's bright orange, you know. You trip over that, you need to look where you're flipping going. But anyway, from our point of view, we do have to look after people. So what I do is I run it along the edge and then put a chair over it. And then there's tables so people can't get through. That's what I usually do. Anyway, so you've got projector, mains cable and HDMI cable. HDMI cable goes into the splitter. Sound system, that needs a mains lead, and then it needs the sound cable, you know, with the yellow plug and the red plug on it, and that then goes into the splitter as well. Then the splitter itself, that's powered by a USB cable, so USB cable into the laptop. And then I need an HDMI cable from the splitter into the laptop. And then the laptop needs a mains cable. And the laptop needs mousey plugged in so that I can make the pointy thing work. So there's wires everywhere. Sure, some people think I'm nuts. Anyway, the kit all fired up okay. And all worked, everything was fine. I fired up the Zoom meeting, and Jill and David came into the waiting room. There was a few announcements and a few bits of waffling and stuff like that, and I then effectively admitted them into the into the meeting, and we could see David in the States, so that was bonus number one. That bit worked, and he could see and hear me. So right, so we're communicating. Then unfortunately, he'd joined the meeting on his iPad and his presentation was on his laptop. Or it might have been the other way around, but either way he was on the wrong unit. So he had to come out basically, go and get the other unit fired up and then rejoin the meeting, and I had to admit him again. So a few little hiccups at the beginning, but nothing serious, nothing unsurmountable, shall we say. So we got going, and David did his talk, and it was very well received. As far as the society is concerned, the sort of more senior members, well, all the members on the committee are going to have a good think, because our numbers were right down. So we did not have a full audience like we would often have. Numbers do vary, a lot of it depends on the weather. Now yesterday was the first sunny day this year for a lot of people, and that might have been really important, because when people get shut in and don't want to go out in the miserable weather and everything, when you do get a sunny day you sort of think, now do I want to go and sit in a dark room and stare at a screen? And the answer in some cases may well have been no, we're going for a walk in the forest, or we're going to take the dog down on the beach so that it can piss and shit in the sand where the children play, like people do. Really annoys me, that does. But yes, so people may have done other things and taken advantage of the fact it was a lovely sunny day. It was a bit nippy, but not what I'd call cold, just a bit nippy. So numbers were down. The other thing may be that people were not that keen on a Zoom style presentation. They'd rather have somebody stood there that they can talk to. Could be various reasons, but we need to try and find out why, because if it was the fact that it was a Zoom presentation, then obviously we're going to have to steer clear of them. So anyway, it went okay. The fact that we didn't have as many people there as would have been nice to have didn't affect the talk itself. So that went okay. Yeah, so that was that. To say it's that's not going to happen often, where I have to have all of the kit. And in addition to that, plants, because there was a plant sale on. Now I took 4 plants in and came home with 3. No, I didn't buy any. I came back with 3 that didn't sell. One of them would have done until the guy remembered he already had that plant. I took the 2 big Catatantes, I put them up 10 quid each. If those were divided in 3, each one of them would be 25 quid at Burnham's or Lawrence Hobbs. So 10 quid for a plant that size is dirt cheap, basically. You wouldn't be able to buy a plant that size anywhere, you know, but nobody wanted it. And the other 2, I took the 2 divisions of the Coelogeny Moriana Magnifica, and one of those sold, the more mature one with 2 new growths, that one sold. Yeah, so I came home with 3. They're going to go. I'll put them in the raffle if people won't buy them, but our next meeting is the show. Now obviously I can't get rid of them at the show because we've got traders there, so we don't interfere with the trade basically. So the next meeting is going to be out in April. So yeah, I shall take them along then. It depends what the talk is. If the talk is somebody who will be selling plants, then we're not allowed to take plants in as well because it's competition. But if it's just a speaker, I think it's actually our Cymbidium event, so that's an in-house thing. You know, it's going to be, there'll be several presenters basically and some displays put on. Just hope people have still got stuff in bloom. I might have to do some work then for that event, because I will have Cymbidiums in bloom. I won't be able to take them in with scale on them, so I might have to pick the ones I'm going to take and, you know, really do a hard work job to remove every single scale that I can possibly see. And I sort of think along the lines, you know, if I've got rid of everything I can see, you know, top side and bottom side of all the leaves and everything like that, well, if I can't see any, I doubt if anybody else can. So, but if necessary, mine can go on a separate table. You know, we'll work something out. So, yeah, so that's the stuff coming up at the Wessex Orchid Society. The Bournemouth Orchid Society, their spring show is in 2 weeks' time. 28th, something like that, but effectively 2 weeks yesterday. And Hannah's coming down for that, so we'll go along to that. Now I don't film at Bournemouth events, but I'll get Hannah to do a bit on her phone, and then we'll do what we usually do. I'll put something together so you get to see some of what's going on there. So that's in a couple of weeks' time, and then a couple of weeks after that is the Wessex show, our show. Again, I'll film there, obviously. That's competitive show, the spring one, so there'll be categories, you know, with plants in, and the traders' displays as well. It's going to be a bit crowded because we've got, we haven't got Lawrence Hobbs, but we've got his stuff. He's pulling a fast one, as he does on occasions. He's double booked. Rather than miss out on anything, he makes arrangements with some very kind people at the society, because I wouldn't do it. And they're basically going to meet him halfway and bring his plants back and look after them and set them up and sell them for him, and then take what's left back and give him his, you know, his income and everything. As I said, it's a favour we do for him. I personally wouldn't do it, but that'll be that. And then obviously we've got Burnham's there, so Arthur will be there, and we've got Spice Exotic as well. So Zuza will be there, probably with her other half. They'll probably both come. And you know, then we've got Peter White Accessories is there with all his bark and pots and stuff. That reminds me, I need some more feed, so I'll take advantage of. He sells the same feed as everybody else, the Orchid Focus, but his is always cheaper than everybody else's. Everybody else marks up more than he does. So, and last time I got some, the price had gone up, and he said, well, the price has gone up from when I buy some more. This is at the old price, so you can have it at the old price. So, you know, I actually got like £2 something cheaper than everybody else would have paid. So that's good. But I am starting to get a bit low. That's probably a year ago I bought that. I doubt if it's 2 years. Might be. But if it's a year, it's at least that. And that's 10 quid to feed all my orchids for a year. You know, some people go, oh, orchid fertiliser, inexpensive. Think what you do with it. You know, and then, you know, divide it up. How many feeds shared amongst how many orchids, and work out what you actually get from your, however much you spend on your feed. You know, if I spent 3 times that amount on my feed, it would still be good value if it lasts a year for 150 orchids. You know, it's still cheap, isn't it? You work out how much you spend per orchid to keep it fed for a year. It's next to nothing, pennies. So don't worry about it. But yes, we've got a couple of shows coming up, and also in the middle there we've got Wisley, which obviously is a big event. You know, that's a sort of national show, and you've got the RHS Wisley Gardens as well. Hannah will be coming down for that as well. We'll go on the Saturday, so anybody else who's thinking of going, if you go on the Saturday, keep your eye out for me, come and say hello. I'll be there, lurking, milling around somewhere. And if I'm not, it's because we're out having a look around the gardens, which, you know, there should be. Depends on the time of year and how the season has gone, what's around, but, you know, think there will be crocuses, snowdrops, daffodils, cyclamen. There could be some nice cherry blossom out. Some of the acers might be opening their leaves, the early ones, so we'll have to wait and see what we get. But if the weather's nice enough to have a look around the gardens, then I'll film some of the stuff in the gardens as well. But, the big hole in Wisley this year is Mathers won't be there, because they've got all their paperwork and everything sorted out. They're going to the big show in Dresden, which is Germany, isn't it? Or is it Austria? No, I think it's Germany. But that's the big international World Orchid Congress, basically. It's massive, absolutely massive. You do have a problem. If you go from this country and you go over there and you see some really nice plants, they'll have to stay there. You can't bring them back. Not without all the paperwork. But, it's like David said, the paperwork in Dresden can be done. So you'd have the necessary paperwork to be able to bring that plant back into the country. What you won't have is the paperwork done this end to allow it into the country. So you'd have the paperwork to be allowed to take it, but not to actually you know, import it. You need an import license and all sorts of stuff. It's a big deal, it really is a big deal, considering it's just a hop across the channel. But that's how it is, that's how it is. So, yeah, that display, the Mathers display not being at Wisley, bearing in mind you have displays all round the edge of the hall, and then you have a central display which has one across the end there, which is normally OSGB, one across the end at the other end, and several along that side, and the whole of this side is the Mathers display. That won't be there, so it's going to leave a big hole, you know. And it's a shame, because although I'll be going to Mathers later in the year, April, middle of April I'm going, it's not the same as them picking out all their best plants and setting them up as a display. Seeing them in the nursery is not the same thing, because they're just wherever they are, plonked around, you know, wherever they come into bloom sort of thing. Although they do tend to move those in bloom nearer the front, because they're aware that they've got people are coming and visiting and tours and stuff, so they do look after you when you go. Be able to see their new seedling area that they've got set up, and their new reception, that's all up and running now for this year. So they've got a dedicated reception area now. They've got a library, they've got some artwork, and you know, like a dedicated seedling thing, so things can come out of the laboratory and get into a much better environment to bring them on, you know, get them up to flowering size. So I'll be going to that later in the year. That's quite a bit later as well. Middle of April, that is. So it's amazing how quickly this part of the year goes. Because once you sort of get to the shows, you know, we've got one in 2 weeks' time, and another one 2 weeks after that, then Wisley, very close, and then the visit to Mathers, and then zilch. Nothing for ages. Well, that's how it goes. There'll be an event at Burnham's, I expect, in the summer. Something will happen. But yeah, so that's what's coming up in the orchid world. What's going on in the world around us? Well, I'm spending quite a lot of my time, as the weather's miserable, I certainly don't want to go out, can't get anything done in the garden, everything's soaking wet and it's raining most days. I've been watching the Winter Olympics and thoroughly enjoying most of it. There's a few things that I don't enjoy, so I don't watch them. Watch something else instead. Get back to watching some normal telly, which I haven't seen much of lately. But yeah, I'm enjoying. I liked watching the. I don't know what it's called, a biathlon, the cross-country skiing with the shooting involved. Because having done rifle shooting a long time ago, but I know just how steady and calm and relaxed you need to be to have that level of accuracy, and to do it on the end of a cross-country ski run uphill, I just find absolutely amazing that somebody is not so out of breath that they just can't hold the rifle still. So that's quite amazing. And the youngsters chucking themselves around on snowboards and stuff like that, that's just amazing to watch. The amount of, I mean, it's called big air because of the amount of air between leaving the ground and where they get to. Some of the heights they get up to are absolutely incredible. That is a sport for the youngsters, I think, because there's a lot of falling over in it, and older people would probably break rather than bounce. But yeah, there's been a few accidents. There's something that I would imagine is exciting if you were there, but it doesn't make very good TV, and that's the what's it called now? Skeleton, where people throw a tea tray down on the floor and then whiz down these, you know, twisty tunnels of ice sort of thing. Don't find that very exciting. I have been watching the curling. Yeah, England did what they often do in sport. They do absolutely brilliantly. Yeah, we'll get the medal, and then meow, getting in the final, and no, that don't work. And also the Six Nations rugby is on, so I mean I missed one game yesterday because it was in the afternoon. I was obviously at the Orchid Society, but I saw some of the one in the evening. But yeah, so there's a bit of sport going on the TV. But if they add snooker in, I'll be spoilt for choice. So that's that. What else is going on in the big bad world out there? Because that's what it is, a big bad world. My worry is that politicians and the like, people in really senior positions that come out of America and speak, is that correct? It's correct for them, they've said it. But is somebody behind just going to totally write that off? Say, no, we're not doing that. Because the bloke changes his mind faster than he changes his underwear. But yeah, to stand up in front of many, many countries' leaders and actually say that Europe and America belong together, that is a big, big, big statement. Yeah? Because we all know that Russia is not working towards peace in Ukraine. Russia's idea of peace in Ukraine is that they give up, get rid of all of their military and just let Russia move in. That's how Russia sees peace. And it's quite honestly, it's the only way it sees peace. It's not giving up what it's taken. It wants more, and it's not going to allow. It says it's not going to allow any other country to bring support in to look after Ukraine, even if there is peace. But who are they to say? It's not their country. Yeah. So anyway, that's totally unresolved. Lots of people keep having talks, and there are lots of talks. At least something's happening. But I think people are getting their heads around the fact now that they are a waste of time. Total waste of time. So maybe everybody will realise that soon. I'll tell you something that made me laugh. I haven't heard anybody say it, so I'm going to say it. Yeah? Somebody wants to take over Greenland. Why? National security, because of Russia. Hang on, I thought you were best buds with Russia. Inviting them over to a meeting, putting the red carpet out. I thought you were best buds. So why do you now see them as a threat? Make your mind up, sunshine. Make your mind up. And then we got the Middle East. Problems out there. Huh. That's strange. That doesn't happen often, does it? It happens all the time. It's continuous. It's never stopped. Why somebody thinks that's all going to get sorted out. There is a way to sort it out, which may have to happen, but it won't stop it happening again. This is the problem. You know, you can hammer a country into the ground, and half of the time with the mindset of those sort of people is all you do is create more. Yeah? You knock one down and two spring up. The way of that world, anyway. All good stuff. Well, it's not, but you know what I mean. So those sort of things don't change. Somebody's had a bright idea now. I think this is Europe, hopefully with some backing from elsewhere, that they're going to hit the countries that are buying the crude oil from Russia and therefore supporting the war. They like to keep quiet. No, we need the crude oil. We need all this. Well, you're supporting the war, then, aren't you? Well, no. Yeah, yes, you are. Basically, they're thinking of hitting them hard with huge sanctions, especially the company that own the refineries, the people who use the oil to get it in a state for other people to use, because crude oil is not much good to anybody. It's got to be refined, and they're looking at possibly hitting those companies and the countries they are involved with really hard, and that way the money will dry up, and if the money dries up, so does the war. It'll carry on for some time before the money runs out. But I think the other thing is that most of the attacks that carried on, even though there was supposed to be a pause for a week because of the cold weather, that didn't happen, did it? Who really expected that to work? This is the bit that gets me. Who's living in these dream worlds? But yeah, it's a thought about getting the money to dry up. Because I mean, you've also got a rather large gathering sitting around in the waters and on land. People forget there are bases in the area, all inward facing to Iran. Who's supplying all the drones that are attacking Ukraine every day? Who's supplying them? It's Iran. Well, there's a target for you. All the production lines, all the warehouses. And also, if they're being used in Russia, they must be able to get from Iran to Russia. Take them out. That'll help. Because I don't think they're supplying missiles. But, Russia's probably still, they've probably still got some stockpile. And they're still making them. I mean, that's where the money's going, is replenishments, you know. They lost most of their tanks. They lost some of their good aircraft. So they just chuck drones and missiles at it now. And lots of men who, you know, well, the saying is the Russian soldiers are recruits, novices, and they get sent to the front line to die. And many of them do. No official figures, but, you know, it's a lot, a hell of a lot. Must be, the numbers must be getting up to bloody World War II numbers by now. And it's going to carry on. It will carry on and carry on and carry on until either Russia gets what it wants or it's stopped. It needs stopping hard. If it was hit really hard and had to back up, then it would think twice about doing it again. Reinforcements could be put in place to make sure it will be extremely difficult to do it again. Because they thought they'd just walk into Ukraine. Billy little country, you know, there won't be much defence, and we'll all line up on this road and here we go. There's a theory about motorised convoys on narrow roads. You take out the front one and the back one and they're stuck. Do you know what you need for that? That type of warfare, there is one instrument, one unit that is almost unstoppable and takes that type of stuff down. And it's the old A10, the Warthog. Brilliant piece of kit. I think it's been retired and I think it's been resurrected now and there's a new version up and running. The thing is with military aircraft, what they can fire is limited by the technology, wiring systems and everything else that's already in the plane. And that dates, that gets out of date, and you get new weaponry and everything is designed to go with the new aircraft and probably doesn't work on the older stuff. So you've got to have a major upgrade to be able to use the more recent stuff. But yeah, you get some of them out on a battlefield, they do some serious damage. They're a job to bring down as well, the way they're designed. So yeah, I could do with some of them. It's funny, it makes me laugh. If they've been retired, there must be some airfields out in the desert somewhere that's just got loads of them, all lined up, all just sitting there collecting dust or sand or whatever. Give them away. It's the instruction manual, you know. This is the way up they go, although they go either way up. Sure, it's not laughable. It's not laughable, but big business. There weren't any wars. Think of all the factories and workers and everything that would be out of work because we wouldn't need all the kit and all the replenishments and all the servicing and everything else that goes with it. Well, think what else we could spend the money on. look at it that way. Yes, sorting out the homeless, you know, various other things. Research and development in medicines and cures for things, you know, there's so much more useful ways to spend that money. Still, that's probably not going to change either. But, right, so that'll do. Enough waffle. We've done the yesterday's meeting. We've done the shows and stuff that's coming up. Yeah, so that'll do for a chat. I'll lift the camera off and we'll just have a look at a few things. I've got a few things that are opening, or just about to, but they're not quite there yet. I haven't got any new blooms as such to show you, but there's a few things to just, you know, talk about. There are a couple of things as far as blooms are concerned that I missed on our last Everything in Bloom. One that I miss on several occasions because it's in the roof and I'm only short. I'm a little short person. I remember saying I had a mate when I worked for ICL. There was a large gathering of freelance people. We used to go up the pub and take over. There were so many of us, things like that. And one of my mates, tech support guy, was about 6'5", 6'6", and a rugby player. He was a big guy. And we were talking about, you know, fitness and strength and stuff like that, just general topic of conversation. And I looked at him and I said, I can do something you can't do. Oh yeah, what's that then? I said, I can be inconspicuous. That's the advantage of being short. You can disappear in a crowd. He couldn't, he's head and shoulders above everybody else. Right, let's get the camera down. I've got to put these plants away now. That is annoying, taking plants and then having to bring them home again. Still, that's how it goes. And you also have to bear in mind what I said at the beginning. We didn't have anywhere near the normal numbers. So there were possibly people that didn't come to that meeting that might have bought the plants. So be it. Don't force people to buy stuff. If they don't want it, they don't want it. Right, this is interesting. Well, it is for me, because quite a lot of my mounted dendrobiums don't appear to be growing, and some may even have passed on, but that one is. Got a nice new growth coming out of there, and that is Dendrobium nobile, the species variety Cooksonianum. So if I can get that to grow, that's a cool grower. There's no reason why it shouldn't flipping grow in here. But this one looks like it's probably gone. But it is a deciduous dendrobium, you know. So we'll have to wait and see. Right, stuff to look at then. My plants in a box, having brought them home. Now yesterday, the plant that came first on the competitive table was a beautiful Coleogene cristata. Very large plant with blooms arching out in all directions, so it wasn't like a one-sided plant. But I tell you what, the blooms weren't as nice as mine. This is still quite an exceptional version. It just is. You know, when Simon Pugh-Jones sold that to me and he told me the story and everything, and he said, you know, because it is such a good version of that particular species, we've kept it going, you know, and line bred and everything from it. So, yep, that was a good one. My prima donna is opening, but not open yet. When it is, I'll get it in a better position. Come on, focus. Thank you. But what is good is it looks like this set of blooms are going to have good pink tinges on the ends of the petals and sepals, because sometimes it comes out almost pure yellow without those pink bits, but it looks like they're going to be there this time round. So that'll be good. And then up here is a plant I completely missed when we were looking at the blooms. This is my Dendrobium infundibulum. And the two blooms that have been out, well, heading up towards 3 months, they're going over now. But we've got 3 more that have opened up, including one actually facing in this direction that we can actually see. But because it's so high up, it really is, you know, almost in the roof. It's very easy for me to walk underneath it and forget, which is what I did when we were doing everything in bloom. But the blooms are smashing. Lovely pristine white, lovely golden yellow. Just the 2 colours, no gradations, nothing. Simplistic. So that's that. Oh, that makes my arm ache holding the camera up there. It's not that it's heavy, it's just an unusual angle. Right, other things coming soon. This is Cymbidium tigertail, just starting to open. First bloom on the first spike. But it's coming on, it's got other spikes, it's got quite a few spikes actually, but that's the first bloom to actually open, so that's coming on. I don't think there's much else that's near, you know, that's going to be open relatively soon. And the other thing that I'm well pleased about is this. Oops. This is going to be my first Pleone to open, because that bud's not far off now. And looking at that bud, looks incredibly like there might be 2 blooms on that spike, because it does look different. If you look at the left hand side of the spike, you can see the bud pushing out the top. Well, what's going on, you know, under that sheath on the right hand side then? Because if you look at this one, you can see the leaf. The leaf's at the bottom of the spike. And then you've got the sheath and the bud that's flopped over because it's going to open soon. And this one's not like that. The leaf's down there, very, very, you know, tiny, not pushing on. But that looks like that might be a double bud. And then we've got the other one there that's pushing on, and then this one with the bud on has actually got a second shoot that I didn't notice when I potted these up. And that's Pleone Zeus, as in, is that a Greek god, Zeus? Oh, I can't remember. All stuff and nonsense anyway, it's all legends and stuff, isn't it? But I think I might actually do a Pleone update this week and do a full update. We'll have a look at all of them and see how they're progressing, because they are my new genus. I mean, you can see in this pot there are an awful lot of shoots coming on. Now, my friend Helen that gave me a lot of bulbs that are in this pot along with the ones I already had, she's got some that have opened, and the idea is what we're going to do is this bulb in the middle with the, you know, extending growth that will be a bloom, might be 2, but that is definitely Pleone Tongariro, because I bought it from Burnham's with a tag. Helen's reasonably confident that that's what hers are, but by putting them in the same pot we will have blooms right next to each other, and it'll be easy to actually say yes, that's what hers are. But she's got some that have opened. She actually posted them on the Wessex Orchid Society Facebook page, so she's got some open already. I haven't, but I will have soon. And there's others that are progressing, but perhaps I'll do an update on all of them, see how they are. Maybe later in the week or something, or the week after perhaps. We've got this, my Sarracenia has got a bloom, but it's not open yet. The outside is, it has like 3 lots, the blooms on this. It's got this green bits, and then it's got the red bits, and then it's got the centre, which is like down in there, which is not fully open yet. So we'll have a closer look at that sometime as well. So that's that. Yeah, there's not much else going on. The Lindleyi and the Jenkinsii, they're still in their full winter rest. They get some moisture now and again, but they don't get a lot because they don't use it. And we'll see. I can't imagine that the Jenkinsii is big enough to bloom yet, but the Lindleyi is. And whether I've got good enough winter resting conditions to actually get blooms on that this year, I don't know. But it's far too early yet to actually find out, so we shall have to wait and see, won't we? Right, and the Dendrobium apollo is looking quite nice. I had Spring Dream apollo once, which is a bit different to that, but it's certainly a lot bigger, the blooms are, but that's still quite nice. That came from Helen as well, as a gift. Right, there's not much else going on. This is interesting, possibly. The Miltoniopsis looks like it might be going to extend, because that just looked like the end of the spike, just like a terminal sort of thing. But it seems to be growing, so you might actually manage to produce another bud on there. This has been in bloom for absolutely ages. It is getting a little bit floppy and it is starting to curl back now, which is a sign that it's going to go soon, but still looking good. And the other thing we missed when going the Spike and Bloom video was that up there. Missed that completely. And that is a large spike. That's going to have quite a few blooms on it, and it's probably taken 3 months to get to that stage, but it is pushing on now. It is starting to show movement, so it is getting longer, and the new growth on there is also extending now. So I think potting it up in that basket has sort of done the job, hopefully. You could still do with some flipping roots though. We shall see how that goes. So yes, this one's looking nice as well. Pomelo. It's not a very good blooming this year, but then it probably exhausted itself last year. It had 5 or 6 spikes last year, and that would have been nursery grown to get to that stage rather than Roger grown. There is a difference. Can't replicate nursery conditions. You just get as close as you can and do the best you can. So the talk yesterday, David Mathers was showing pictures of the cloud forest environments, and he said, you know, these odontoglossum type oncidiums and the others that come from those sort of environments, trying to recreate that environment is incredibly difficult, because basically every morning is like thick mist and drizzly rain. So there's no light, you know, it's really sort of dank and dark and dismal, and that's how they start their day. And they also can get quite wet during that period, and then as the day progresses, often, not every day, that clears and sun comes out and they dry off, and there's a constant breeze, constant airflow. So you've got those daily changes and a constant no winter, no summer stuff. Just a constant environment, because you're virtually on the equator. We were looking, the talk was about the orchids of Ecuador, which is on the equator. So you're looking at 12-hour days virtually every day with not a lot of variety. So trying to replicate those conditions in the UK is not easy. You've got the problem with the short days, you've got the problem with the heat in the summer, you've got the problem with keeping the humidity up but allowing it to dry every day, and not getting the plants too wet at the roots or the roots rot, because again, where they grow, their roots aren't in much, and consequently the drying effect is almost daily. So they're almost growing like a mount, even though they are, you know, they appear to be growing in amongst other plants and in the moss and humus collected on trees, in forks of trees and stuff, but there's not much of it, and because of the environment it dries quickly. You know, trying to replicate what's going on at the roots is also difficult, so no wonder people have trouble with them. Yeah. But like David said, you know, Jim's evolved a way of dealing with all of those factors over many, many years. You know, he's had a career in growing those sort of plants, and he probably does it better than anybody else. But again, the one thing, I've discussed this with other orchid growers, the one thing you've got at Mathers that we can never do is volume. The physical amount of air space in their glass houses, given that the roof is probably 4 meters up, maybe 5, the actual volume of air is absolutely huge. So maintaining a constant environment is a lot easier with a larger airspace than it is with smaller air spaces. I mean, if you've got a 10 by 8 greenhouse and the sun comes out, you're gonna gain 10 to 15 degrees in 5 minutes. They don't. So yeah, difficult. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. We have to pick on something to end on, don't we? We've had a look at the cristata. Let's end on this one, because again, I do like my Coelogenes, and this is a very nice blue, especially the colours in the lip. Let's move to that one, it's got a little bit more light on it. And yeah, I won't be able to hold that still, so I'll just have to back up a bit. You can see the whole spike. But thanks for being members, you know, be it YouTube members. I think I may have lost a member, but yeah, so be it. And the Patreon site, being members over there. And thanks for your comments. Thanks for those who've subscribed and those that are still to do so. Remember, it don't cost anything, you just tick a box or tap something on a phone, I presume. My mindset is all geared up to using a mouse, so I'm clicking or ticking things, you know. But yeah, the support for the channel is appreciated, as always. And remember your hypes, your 3 hypes a week that renew over Sunday night sometime, ready for Monday morning. Don't necessarily have to hype my videos, but use your hypes. Support those smaller channels. Give them a little bit of a boost. And it all helps YouTube get channels going, which is incredibly hard nowadays on YouTube. They moved all the goalposts and the criteria, so you know, so trying to get a YouTube starting from scratch is incredibly difficult now. So anyway, support the ones you like, and thanks for the support for this channel, it is appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Day off tomorrow, don't forget. I don't film, well, I do sometimes film on Mondays, but I don't post under normal circumstances. So we'll reconvene with something on Tuesday when I think of something. Bye for now. Thanks for dropping by.